Welcome one and all to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Water Cleanup of Florida. Summer is here. The rains really haven't come yet, but I'm sure they're around the corner. Either way, this time of the year is not the dream for our homes or our offices, but it won't be a nightmare because of Water Cleanup of Florida, and you now know they're there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. 954-579-0356 is the number you call if you want to get in touch with Water Cleanup of Florida. If you do have any water issues, fire issues with your home or office, they will be there for you. They were there for my wife and myself. The communication was like nothing I've ever had with the service company. It was there, and it was present, and any issues I had, they were there. They took care of everything. Michael, Robert, George, their entire team, well over 60 years of combined experience. They not only get the job done, but they'll allow you to rest easy. And with their certified licensed insured contractors, they'll make it look brand new, which is everything. Look, you can have work done. You still have to go somewhere else a lot of the time to make it look right, or it'll just always be there. You look in that corner, you know the work was done. It's fine. It's fixed. So you move on. But once you want it to look just right, look like it never happened, they're able to do that. It's what they did at our house, our townhouse. I remember looking, going, I know it was there, but I don't see it because they did such a fantastic job. 954-579-0356. Check them out on the website, WCUFL.com, on the socials at Water Cleanup FL. If you have the schmutz, they have the guts. The Florida Panthers are learning a thing or two from our Miami Heat, as they have been gutsy these last 2 years. 3 straight overtime performances, even though, look, if you look at the numbers, by the numbers, they're dominating the crap out of the New York Rangers. However, Igor Shesterkin is, by many estimation, the greatest goalie in the world, and he's been that in this series. Sergei Bobrovsky's been good. Shesterkin's been better, but the Panthers found a way to gut out a 3-2 overtime victory. Yes, they lost the first 2 overtime games in this series, even though they were the dominant team. Finally, their dominance pushed through. And at home, they even the series 2-2. Game 4 in Sunrise. They now head back to New York. We talked about the Panthers and the Rangers and the rest of the NHL. A little bit of NBA playoffs here. The Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Go back to New York, you assholes. Isn't that what you always wanted to say? And we've been hearing it forever. We were talking about this, and sorry for the late start. Welcome to the show, Defo Show here. We got Mike Lubitz looking good today. I'm Jeff DeForest. Happy to have you guys with us. And, of course, later on, not that much later on, in a few minutes, we'll be featuring Old School with the great Tony Segreto, who's going to join us, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. That's always a thrill. But we've been the redheaded stepchild of New York for a long time, the South Florida people. Is there a complex associated with that, Lubie? I don't feel any. Well, I fit the category, right? Because I'm a former New Yorker. I'm not one that feels that everything in New York is superior, because I legitimately believe that nothing in New York is superior. That's why I lived here. Who the fuck wants to live in New York? I don't.
I
grew up there. I loved it. I really enjoyed my childhood, my upbringing there, the whole business of being exposed to so many things. But you know what? Fuck it. It's not a great place to live anymore, is it, Lubie? What do you think?
I mean, maybe
you've never lived there, but
you've
been there.
I visited. I love New York to visit. I've always wanted to live there for like a year, but there was never a point in my life that I ever thought I'd live there long term. Look, again, some of the prices down here are catching up to New York, so it makes the cost of living in New York not as scary.
Getting expensive, getting crowded.
Yes.
I've noticed that, haven't you? I mean, even now, when it's supposed to be dead, you go
dead.
somewhere and it's taking you forever, and there's traffic, all kinds of shit, buildings going up all over the place. I mean, how many apartments can we accommodate here?
I don't know.
In South Florida, but it really has changed. But you were going to say, no desire?
No. I mean, look, New York's really fun. I love New York. It's a blast, but it's not. That was the only thing. I never felt like redheaded stepchild. It was always the 6th borough, this and that. I always, as a born and raised South Floridian, both my parents. My mom born in like Buffalo, but lived here literally since she was 6 months old. My dad.
Buffalo's not really New York, in my opinion.
I mean, she lived here since she was 6 months, so all she knew was Miami. And
I mean, I know it's in the state, but it's a whole different world.
It's not being in the state.
It's like comparing Loxahatchee or something to
exactly
Miami Beach.
My dad born and raised in Miami. I'm a South Floridian through and through, so I always. That's why it's funny. A lot of people have this our buddy has a Boston angst. I didn't give a shit about Boston.
No.
I hated New York because in all of the sports, they were in our division. We went at it as rivals. And then also the fans were obnoxious assholes that always talked about how great New York was, but we're fucking here. And I thought that was the funniest thing. I'm like,
yes, if you love it so much, that was
go
always
back.
the
I would always say
Go
that.
back.
Like, I was like, dude, if it's so great, why are you fucking here? And again,
and then in parentheses, you had to have you fucking New York asshole.
Yes, it would always say you fucking New York
you
asshole.
insufferable fucking New York asshole.
Always. So it was like, look, I'm not telling you to turn your back on your team, but you're here. It would always, oh, fucking South Florida. You live here. You chose to come here. Like, I was born here. Like, what do you, so that was always, but I feel like it's subsided because the last 20 years, the South Florida teams have done pretty much a lot better in sports.
Well, and they've been around longer now. So that was always an argument, though,
Yeah.
we had with fans all the time on these sports talk shows was, well, geez, there's no great tradition here because you have teams that were in their infancy for the most part. But you're talking about 30-plus years with all of these teams now. And is that not enough? I mean, there's a whole generation that grew up with these professional teams in South Florida, and many people with our sons and daughters of displaced New Yorkers. You would think that they would have some loyalty and affiliation to the tradition of the local teams, which has it been that bad? The Heat have a reasonably solid tradition, don't they? They have championships. They've always been contenders. They've been contentious, and competitive. So you would think they have a solid fan base. We do see when the Knicks come to town or whatever, an infiltration of Knick fans at the arena, but not to the extent that we saw last night with the Panthers, huh?
No.
Are those guys the only guys, those former New York lawyers who retired down here? Are they the only ones that can afford tickets for this shit? What is going on with that? And I'm not one. I mean, I always got a kick out of sportscasters who are telling you how to be a sports fan, which I'm just not a believer in that. I don't understand how you could try to dictate to somebody what it is that they should believe when it comes to rooting for a sports team, because that was pretty commonplace, right? Yeah, well, you know what? If you want to root for the Knicks, go back to New. I don't believe that. If you were a diehard Knicks fan your entire life and you want to continue that affiliation and that emotional attachment, then fine. I don't know. So root for the Knicks when they play the local team. I don't have a big problem with that. A lot of people somehow do. But we've been hearing it forever, right? The pizza here sucks. The Chinese food here sucks.
That's the stuff that bothers me. I don't care what team you root for, but they would always be degrading South Florida as they chose to live in South Florida. It's like, how bad could it be here? Like, at least the Cubans that come here aren't like, oh, I hate South Florida. Like, the Cubans come from Cuba and are very happy to be in fucking South Florida. Like, and they're not the same situation. I get it, but I'm just saying, like, if you're choosing to move somewhere, like if I ever moved, I don't know where the fuck I moved, but I would be happy to live in that place, or at least I wouldn't be degrading it all the fucking time because I chose to move there. Like I always thought that was so weird. You don't really hear that so much anymore. Like, it's just, you always heard that. And the Knicks Heat series, those 4 or 5 years, whatever the fuck it was.
And that's 30 years ago.
It is. It was the late 90s. You would always, start in the mid 90s. Like, you would always, it would be the stuff the New Yorkers would say. I'm like, dude, you're here. Like, what are you talking about?
It's not 75 and clear in January with the sun shining brightly and tickling the toes, that you have exposed in the sand on the beach. You're out there. I just always think of the schmutz in New York. That really is what it represents to me. Now, I moved out of the city, or my parents did anyway. I went with them when I was 11 years old, and it was like moving to the country. It really was when I first was on Long Island. I would imagine it's not quite as festive. It must, be to the point now where it's almost as bad as living in the city. Not quite though. I mean, you got all kinds of foliage there and things. You get your share of chlorophyll. Let's put it that way.
Yes, there's more plants.
There are things there that definitely are appealing, but nonetheless, the crowds and the noise and all of this bullshit that goes on there, the feeling of being unsafe all the time, constantly feeling your back pocket, see if your wallet's still there. I could live without all of that, and I don't miss it. But I don't think it should necessarily mandate that you become a South Florida sports fan.
Root for you want. I don't give a fuck. Just don't be obnoxious about it.
But leave us alone about everything else. That's where I'm at.
So the crowd, look, I get it.
The crowd, I mean,
I'm
it
not
was
seeing what
majority
you're
of Panther
seeing.
fans, but man,
Yes.
those New York fans made their presence known,
So
didn't they?
So that's okay. Then I'll agree with you. Yeah, because when I was watching it, I'm like, yeah, they're showing little pockets, but it wasn't like what the Jet games used to be.
No, where
or
everybody's like in a Al Toon jersey.
it wasn't bad like that. But yes, I'll give you. If New York had something positive happen, it was louder than you'd like
Oh
to
my
hear.
God! Yeah. Oh, really? I mean, it's sort of like in and out of these games. Sometimes you can drift off during a hockey
Well,
game.
hockey,
I don't know that everybody's riveted to the television. And then there was a basketball game I was trying to follow
Yep.
with Minnesota
It was a
and
great
Dallas,
game.
which
Yeah, that game was
Minnesota kept themselves alive in the series. Do you see a miracle happening there, Lubie, at all? Because it's never happened.
Nah.
History of the NBA, which is kind of strange, isn't it? I know we came close to having the situation finally end
at our expense.
last year. It seemed impossible that Boston, after winning 3 straight and lucking out in part of that process, getting some real
that fucking
incredible
tip.
breaks.
It was just the game 6. The game 6 was the one where the Heat stopped it, played great defense, and they watched Derek White make a tip-in at 0.6 seconds.
Yes.
Of all people to force a game 7. Like the Heat had allowed them to win 2 games, but it was like, all right, fine. They win this game. You win in 6. That's not the end of the world. I was like, oh, shit.
We got fucked. So now you're thinking, all right, then go back to Boston. Of course, the Celtics and Celtic pride and Celtic history were going to just be an overwhelming, ominous presence that was going to end up undoing the Miami Heat. And we would have finally ended that whole streak of forever, where nobody's been able to come back from an 0-3 deficit in an NBA playoff series. That's remarkable, too, that it's not happened at any time, not just the finals, not just, round 1, ever. I don't know how many times the situation has popped up. I would imagine, it has to be close to 100 or maybe more.
I'm sure it's happened lots of times. It's never happened once.
A 3-0 setup, it has never been reversed where the team, and that was true in baseball for a long time, too. Hockey, you see that happen more often than you do in other sports. But if you were looking at the hockey postseason stats, it's really remarkable, Lubie, the lopsided majority of wins by the road teams in these Stanley Cup playoff games.
Yeah, it's fucking weird that like you want home ice, you like home ice, and then you forget about home ice. Like the minute the playoffs.
It's a detriment at this point. I think the winning percentage is highly in favor. It's like 60% of the road teams have won so far in this season's Stanley Cup playoffs, which is pretty remarkable when you think about it. So certainly, I mean, you had the pivotal game 4 last night, in my opinion. Because and I don't know that I would have discounted the Panthers, even if they had gone down 3-1. They have that kind of resiliency that we always look for, that we were talking about with FAU last year, not this past season, but the year before. They had that late game resiliency where they would somehow always find a way to bounce back or rally at the end of games. The Panthers have that kind of composition, don't they? That they really can't be discounted for the last couple of years. This Bill Zito's done a hell of a job putting this team together. And the Rangers, the President's Trophy winners, are carrying that curse heavier. Is that heavier than the curse of Rachel Nichols? What do you think? What if Rachel did hockey?
Oh, my God. I hope the Panthers stay away from her because they already fucked it.
She'd be wearing a Panther uniform and have a couple of red pom-poms in her.
Like the shots are literally 80-something. And again, like in a boxing a fight, sometimes like a guy can throw 40 punches, but it's like Paul Williams
would be very good.
Like Paul Williams would throw a shitload of punches, but it was like slap fighting. Like the punches didn't do shit. The other guy threw 5 punches, but nailed Paul Williams in the fucking mouth, and Williams would get knocked out. Like you can throw a shitload of punches, and it does. Again, in hockey, a lot of times they'll throw shit at the net that they know has no shot. Fine. But it's literally like 80-something to 40. Like the Panthers are literally doubling their shots in this series, and it's knotted up 2-2, and it's gone to 3 straight overtimes, and they could have lost last night. So, yeah, I mean, I don't need Rachel Nichols anywhere near this team. They're already botching it up as it is. Look, Shesterkin's playing out of his mind. I also do think there's more the Panthers could do. You need to keep the action around the net. They're getting a lot of one and dones, and that's the problem. Is a lot of these goals, and the the puck bounces this and that way. Yeah, because guys are standing in front of the fucking goalie, blocking the goalie, and making sure the puck bounces this or that way. And that's sort of the thing the Panthers aren't doing. But it was nice to see it get knotted up at 2-2. I do believe in this, not roster. I believe in the front office. It's the first time in a long time we've ever believed in a front office outside the Miami Heat in South Florida. And it was what I was saying last night when they were up 2-1, and then they allowed them to score 2-2 on what was a fucking annoying goal, because it was a nice pass and a nice goal, but it was like if they had done anything defensively, there's no way that happens. The guy got like a fucking backhand pass through 4 people. Yes. No one hits the passer or the receiver. He bats it in off of Bobrovsky into the fucking goal. It's like, dude, what are you guys doing?
Shoot it high on Bobrovsky. That held up again last night.
Yeah, that was the first goal. So I was like, okay, I'm already thinking they're going to go down 3-1. Fuck it. But the thing is, I actually do believe in Bill Zito, and every offseason he's found a way to make this team better in every instance. So it's like, it's not like years past where they made a run and now it's over. It feels like they built something that's going to hang around for a while. And you see that actually on the ice, because you just said it. Like at down 3-1, I would have lost it, but this team doesn't. Like they hang in these games.
Oh yeah, you would give them a chance in any game that they're playing, whether it's home or away. Against even the best of teams, which is something that I don't know that we could have considered in many years past. But these last 2 seasons, regular season last year was a real clusterfuck. But nonetheless, once they got to the postseason, they started playing brilliantly. And they sort of sustained that throughout most of the year. They really only had one brief slump during the whole regular season. Lubie came about, a month before the end of the regular season. They had like a 2-week span there where they weren't very good.
Yep.
And then they sort of shrugged that off, bounced back, and seemed to be on their game going into the postseason. And so far, they've been just that. They've been on their game. Maybe a little bit of bad luck. I mean, you had several shots, both sides, clank off posts.
Yes. The one that hit the post went down and just bounced away. It was like, holy shit.
It was a big spot in that game, for sure. Yeah, it's been amazing, though. You would have to say, as abstract a game as hockey is, once you get into it in the postseason, and if that's the only time you pay attention to the NHL, you're more than getting your money's worth, no? I mean, just incredible action all the way around. Both series have been like this, including Edmonton and Dallas, which they crank it up tonight. I said yesterday, that I thought both series would be 2-2 by the end of Game 4, and that remains a distinct possibility. But we did get that one home last night, so that was good. Real great action all the way through. Rangers and the Panthers. One of the best series that we've had in any postseason in any sport here.
It's a war.
Yeah, it is by far. By far, I think it is the best.
I mean, they've had 3 overtime games in a row.
Yeah, 3 overtime games out of the games. I mean, first one was kind of a clunker as the Panthers dominated in Madison Square Garden, but last 3 games, you couldn't ask for much more. Goaltending's been sensational. I don't know. Would you say? Can we get Lubie to admit? Has Bobrovsky?
He's been great.
He hasn't been sensational, has he? But he's been very, very good.
He's been really good. I'm just annoyed at.
Yeah, what's going on with that, Lubie?
Well, no, but look, it's
Lubie hates Bobrovsky.
When I bitch about Bobrovsky, it's not really him. I don't know if he's going to be Shesterkin and he's going to dominate, but he's played really well. Look, even the games they've lost, it's not really on him. Like, you're going to give up a goal here and there. You're playing a really good team in the Rangers. It's more they can't get the puck in the net. It's just he's my go-to person I bitch. I just
no one else to blame, so you may as well blame him.
Yes, it's just my crutch is because he gives up the goals. He gives up a lot of time are the stupidest goals, like where there's no one in front of him. He's right there, and then the puck sails by, and he doesn't even look for it. It's like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like
that one that hit the post.
Yes,
he literally was looking for it, like after he thought it was in the stands.
Like that annoys me about it. Like
but he's been good. He's been good enough to keep him really alive in this thing. That's for sure.
Yes, I rail against Sergei Bobrovsky. Not because he isn't good. He sucked for the beginning time he was here after the Panthers paid him a crap load of money. But he's been really good. He's been one of the best goalies in hockey. He's been one of the best goalies in these playoffs. He has kept them in games and allowed them to now be tied 2-2 in the conference finals. He's just annoying because he gives up stupid-ass goals. I mean, look, if you're looking at what Shesterkin's giving up, it's a lot of crazy crap. When a lot of movement, when a lot of things going on. A lot of the time, Bobrovsky will give a guy is shooting a puck at him. No one's in front of the net. He sees the puck clearly. But because it's high, he has this thing where he ducks down. Like Shesterkin will get up, use his whole body. Bobrovsky like ducks down, giving the whole top of the net, which his body's almost as big as the net. Like you cover the net. Like you can see when a puck's high. Like I get when it's low, but when it's coming off high, you can see it's high. He like ducks down and tries to catch it with his glove, leaving the whole net open, which is really annoying. And it happens pretty much once a game, if not twice a game. So it annoys me. But he is a good goalie, and he's done a good job. He has not been dominant like Shesterkin, but it's okay. His team, it feels like, is better. They're better at defense because they are stopping the Rangers from getting a lot of shots on net. They're better on offense because they're getting almost double the shots every game. So his team's helping him out. He's doing his job. Finally, in Game 4, they were able to get one extra goal and win the game. It's been annoying because if you look at the shots, it's like Panthers have like 80-something shots. The Rangers have like 40-something. They're literally doubling their shots in this series. They've controlled the action. They've controlled the tempo. They've controlled the games, all of the games. And the 3 overtime games, they really should have won. Even the game they were down 4-2 in Game 3, by the third period, they had it knotted up. And it felt like they were going to win that game. It felt like when they got to overtime, they were going to win that game. Gave up an annoying goal. Game 4 wasn't much better. They got down 1-0, then got up 2-1, had a 2-1 lead for a lot of that game, and gave up a game-tying goal in the third period, like halfway through the third period, when I had so many opportunities in the third period to get a leading goal. We're not able to cash in. Got to overtime. It got a little nerve-wracking, but early in overtime, get a power play, and the power play has been a little bit better in this series and has been the last couple postseasons. They are now knotted up at 2-2. It is an exciting series. Look, these are the 2 best teams in hockey. It's not for the cup, and I'm sure the Western Conference will have something to say about things when they get there, either the Edmonton Oilers or the Dallas Stars, but the Florida Panthers and the New York Rangers have been pretty much the 2 best teams in hockey most of the year. They've been the 2 best teams really throughout the playoffs, and they're in a bloodbath. I mean, you have 3 overtimes for a reason. These are really closely matched teams. Even though the Panthers have led the action, it's 2-2 for a reason. It heads back to New York Thursday night. Curious to see what the heck happens there. All in on our Panthers, and very happy that we have a tied 2-2 series and not down in that series. Miami Heat, middle of the offseason, the NBA playoffs roll on. The Celtics are sitting in the finals after one of the easiest runs in NBA or any playoff history. Literally every best player of every team they played in the playoffs missed, if not the entire series, at least half the series. So they're sitting in the finals with pretty much a cakewalk. And through the conference playoffs, we'll see what happens in the finals. The Dallas Mavericks looked to punch their ticket Tuesday night. That did not happen. The Minnesota Timberwolves staved off the Mavs, finally close out a game, and head back to the Great White North to Minnesota for Game 5 to try and stay alive in their playoff series. So we'll definitely talk about that. Check us out each and every morning on South Florida Live, Facebook, or YouTube. Check us out. Our daily podcast, nofilter.net, or just Google The Morning Briefing Caffeine TV. And we do a national podcast as well. Talk about sports, but some fun things outside of sports as well. The Believe Network, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours. And our South Florida skewed content right here. The Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. thank goodness for landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.